I became selfish and it literally changed my life for the better. As someone who comes from like the most people-pleasing background ever, because both my parents were people pleasers, my grandparents, everyone else in the family, I think that going to the other side of people-pleasing, which is selfishness, is what actually made my life actually start being my own life and not the life that everyone else wanted for me. And I feel like nowadays people still have this image that being selfish is a bad thing. Being selfish is like, well, a selfish thing, that you shouldn't be selfish, you're always needing to look after people, blah blah blah. But I feel like this at the end of the day is just a way of people to control and manipulate you. Why is it hard though to become selfish if you've not been selfish for most of your life? The first thing that I realized is that I think that when you are not a selfish person, and I mean selfish in a healthy way, not selfish in a sociopathic way, you know? Selfish that you put yourself first, you put your needs first. I think that main thing that happens is like if you people please through your entire like young years, adult years, whatever, you surround yourself with people who take advantage of your people pleasing. You're the kind of person who, like, if someone is like, oh, I need to like move from my apartment to the other apartment on this day, can you come help? Someone who's a people pleaser will always say yes to that. And if you're selfish, maybe you're like, you know what, I actually don't feel like doing that this weekend. And they might be like, oh, why don't you feel like doing that? And you're like, oh, I just want to lay in bed and watch Netflix because you maybe have had a really long week and a very tiring week. And someone who's used to you saying yes all the time will not take that very happily. Someone who is also a selfish person who like knows their boundaries and everything, they will be like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I just asked for help, but there's nothing wrong with you not wanting. For whatever the reason, you can always say no for like no reason. You know what I mean? And that's something that my therapist taught me a long time ago when I started going to therapy. He told me, which is something that you can also do as an exercise from now on, and to kind of like see where you would say yes or no in general, what you actually want to do, like what your selfish side wants to do. And it's that when someone asks you like, oh, do you want to do this, or do you want to like go for dinner, go for drinks, go on this trip, do whatever it is, would you say yes or no? And which one of the two, like yes or the no, are you saying out of fear, and which is the one that you actually want to say? And you don't need to like actually force yourself to say the one that's actually scaring you, because like it takes some time, I think, to actually become a more selfish version, but to actually become conscious of that, to be like, I don't know, maybe your friends are like, oh, let's go out for drinks on Friday night, and you actually are not like that much of a going out person, and you're starting to realize that just now, that you maybe have done it because all your friends were going out all the time, but you actually don't like that life. And when the person asks you, you're like, oh, I actually would say no to this situation, but I don't want to like fail them, I don't want to like not see them, I don't want to whatever. Just be aware of that, and maybe write it down every time that you like what's the answer that you would have given, because that will also help you find out who you actually are. Because I feel like when you are a very people-pleasing person during your whole life, you don't really know who you are, because you only know who you are with the people that surround you, you know, because you're always gonna say yes to what everyone else says. Like, for example, maybe you're not a big going out person, but because you always say yes to going out because your friends do that, you think you are, but then you start like seeing all these decisions that you would actually take if you weren't afraid, and then you're like, maybe I don't like going out that much, maybe I'm just doing it to please these people or to actually see them because my friends only hang out when they go out and drink or something like that, you know. So becoming selfish is not only a good thing for you to assert yourself and do and spend your time doing the things that you want to do, but also it's a great way to know yourself. That's one of the main things that is like the reason why people have a hard time, is like if you have built your whole persona on being a people pleaser, your friends are used to that, and your family is used to that, and everyone around you is used to that. The moment you start becoming selfish, people will not be happy with that, and you need to be prepared for that. And I was kind of prepared for that, but I remember that I had a lot of friends kind of like get really pissed at me, and I lost some friends along the way, but it made me on the long term meet a lot of people who were actually selfish, healthily selfish as I was, never took anything personal. They like, if they were out and I was like, oh, I actually don't want to like maybe go out with you for drinks because I don't feel like doing that, but what if we have brunch the next day? And they were like, yeah, sure, let's do that. So just a matter of finding the right people, but you just need to be aware that becoming selfish will be a transition with like everyone around you, and it's gonna be hard, especially with family, because I have the problem like with my parents that since they're big people pleasers, they just don't understand what being selfish means, and they just call me selfish all the time. They've always said that I'm a very, very selfish person after like I started doing all these things, and they continue to people please, and I'm the first one to kind of tell them to be like, hey mom, why don't you just like do what you want instead of like what people are expecting from you? And she just, I mean, I feel like she's getting better, but I feel like our generation, our parents' generation is just like having a much harder time with that if they were not taught correctly by their parents. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as I said, not just that you're going to be losing friends, but you also need to be prepared for like not live off of people's validation and being okay with getting like pissing people off basically, because like with your selfish decisions, I feel like with people pleasing you kind of are like in this medium where like you're not bothering anyone, you're not being like super opinionated about something and you're not being super like not opinionated about something. You're like in this middle where you're just kind of like trying to not be perceived by anyone, you know? I feel like that's what people pleasing is at the end of the day. Like maybe it's something that we develop to kind of like not be attacked by other people, because you know that if you people please, no one's going to be mad at you, you're going to be liked by everyone. But it's not one of those things where you are actually liked by anyone. I feel like you just don't have enough personality to be liked by anyone, if you know what I mean. You know, when you go to a party and you meet a lot of different people and they say like, oh, this girl was so loud, or this girl was so smart, or this girl was so funny. The reason why they have something that people will tell about them, like they're funny, they're charismatic, they're this, they're that, is because they expressed some kind of personality that they had, you know? When you're a people pleaser, when you're not a selfish person, you're gonna be the person who always, or people always say like, oh, she was nice, but like, because like they don't feel any way about you. And I mean, if you can stay there for your entire life if that's what you want, but I feel like that's just like not, like that's not being you, and you're not gonna get far in life, or you're not gonna get to the goals or even manifest the things that you want if you are not a selfish person, because you need to put your needs first. You need to prioritize yourself if you want to get anywhere in life, because maybe you're then always feeling like, oh, why is this person on my side always the main character? Why is this person always getting what they want? Because they're being selfish. That's basically it. Like if you are selfish, you're gonna get everything that you want. It's as easy as, I don't know, I remember this one time, a long time ago, I was living in an apartment with my best friend, and she left to go live in Mallorca for a while, and we were renting her room, and my sister had some problems at home, and I was like, hey, if you want to come live with me for a while, you don't have to pay rent, whatever, I'm just gonna take you in. And obviously I didn't do that in a people-pleasing way. I just did that because I was like, well, I have the space, she's my sister, obviously I'm gonna help her if I can. Because this is the thing, this is where I want to set this example, because this is something that I never did out of people-pleasing reasons, and that's why she got really mad at me after that. What happened is she moved in with me. She lived with me for a while. I paid for her food, I paid for everything while she was continuing to do college, because she didn't have time to get a job. And 2 months later, after that, I got the offer to move to LA to work for a yogi influencer, which was or had been my dream for a long time. I wanted to move to LA, and I talked to my roommate, and I was like, oh, I actually want to move to Mallorca, so it works out perfectly. We can just like leave the flat on this month, so we can both leave, blah blah blah. And I was like, cool, perfect. So I told my sister like, hey, by the way, next month you will have to move out because I'm moving to LA. My roommate is doing this. Because honestly, this was like my roommate and I's apartment, not hers. She was living there rent-free, food-free, everything. I was just paying for everything for her, which was, I mean, I didn't have like a lot of money, but I had enough to cover for both of us. I never did it out of like a people-pleasing way. I just did it out because like she's my sister. But like the moment I got an opportunity to leave, I'm obviously gonna leave because that was my dream, and I'm not gonna just stay there because my sister needs someone to take care of her, you know? I mean, she was 23 back then, and she had all the means. She had a boyfriend she could move in with. She had possibilities, you know? Not that I left her stranded or anything. And she got so upset, and she was like, you're such a selfish person because you don't let me, because you should stay here to just like help me with this and this and that. And I was like, that's not my problem. Like, I've helped you so far because like you're my sister and I love you, but this is not my issue, and I'm not gonna stay here and take care of an issue that is not mine. Like, if you want to find another solution, like, I can help you find a solution. I can help you find maybe a place that you can stay or like live in, or I don't know. There's like so many things you can do, but you will see that a lot of people around you, like she did, because she's also like a very manipulative person, or she used to be, at least before. When I became selfish, when I became more focused on like what I wanted, and I prioritized what I wanted, she would try to manipulate me and guilt me into feeling so bad for myself. Like, she was like, you're abandoning me, you're doing this, you're doing that. I left, and I just didn't care, because at that point I had been selfish for a long time. So I just didn't care. I just left, and I was like, I'm making my dreams come true. Like, I don't fucking care if you are like now having to move back home with my parents, or having to do this or having to do that. Because that's the thing, like, at the end of the day, the reason that she didn't have a place, that she didn't want to move back with my parents and live with them, because we have like a complicated relationship with our parents. But the thing is, like, when I left home the first time, because I'm the oldest, I just found a job, I quit college, and I did all these things to support myself. She didn't want to do that. She wanted to continue doing college and not work, which is like, that's your decision. I'm completely fine with you deciding that, but you cannot depend on other people supporting you like this. You know what I mean? So it's important for you to know what your priorities are, what are your dreams, what are you chasing, and not let people get in the way of that, because people will try to get in the way of that. I mean, it's different obviously if like someone is sick or something like that, you know what I mean? But people will try to guilt you, people will try to make you feel really bad about the decisions that you're making, and you need to move through the guilt and realize that you're not doing anything wrong. You're just like living for yourself, and if you haven't done that until now, it's kind of hard at the beginning, but it gets better over time. Connecting to that, the other thing is that you need to be okay with people misunderstanding you, because there's going to be so many people who are not going to understand what you're about. They will not understand why you do certain things, but they don't need to. Only you need to understand why you do things and why you are the way that you are. And that's something that took me a while to get there. And even now, today, I feel like today I'm in a pretty good place in that sense of like, I am okay with like whenever I explain things, and maybe even my boyfriend is like, I don't understand why you do this or why you are like this, and I'm like, I don't need you to understand, I just need you to like respect it, and like that's it. And people, like, there's people outside of like your circle who will not understand you and who will attack you and who will be the meanest people ever, and that's okay. And you need to let it be okay, because like, I think in this world there's gonna be people who hate you no matter what you do, you know? Even if you're a people pleaser, they will still find a way to hate you, like maybe for being a people pleaser, exactly. So at least make the most out of it. If you are someone who like wants to be a certain way or do certain things, and you know that people will maybe judge you and be like, oh my god, why is she doing that? Why is she being like this? That's their problem if they're thinking that. That's not your problem at all. So just do what you want to do and try to not care too much about what people think. I can make another video on like that side, because it took me a long time to kind of like not care about what people think. But basically what helped me get there was doing more of what I know that, or I thought that would piss people off, because I always had this image of like of maybe people being pissed off about things that I did, or that people would hate on me for being like more spiritual, or for doing this or for doing that. And I honestly didn't face hate at the beginning, but I did start to face hate over time, when people were like, oh my god, why do you believe in these stupid things, this and this and that. But then I was like, I don't care what these like weirdos have to say about that. I have friends who are spiritual, for example, or I have a community that's spiritual, or this or that. So there's nothing wrong with like having an opinion on something, and a lot of people being like, oh no, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. That's their problem, honestly. I am happy with like what I think, with what I feel, with my beliefs, and I don't know, there's nothing wrong with that. It takes some time, obviously, to get accustomed to being yourself. And I think especially for someone like me, that I realized that until I was 21 years old, I wasn't really being myself, because I people pleased up until then. And I remember this tutor I had in college. I had a kind of like a coaching session with her, and because I was going through some deep problems with my parents, and she was like, Ada, you don't have a personality. And I remember looking at her being like, how, what do you mean I don't have a personality? She's like, no, your parents never let you have a personality because they try to like make you a certain way and you kind of followed that and you don't really know who you are and you need to start discovering who you are. And she looked at me and she's like, I know the kind of person that you are because I can see the parts of you that you're not expressing because they're there, they just like need to come out. And I remember at that point she said something along the lines of like, I know you're the type of person who like if she got an opportunity to like move to LA, actually she said that, she said like if you got the opportunity to move to LA for like a job or something, you would not care and you would just leave everyone behind because like that would be more important to you, which is really funny thinking about the thing where I moved to LA and left my sister behind. I had never thought of that before. But yeah, she said that, she actually said LA. That's really funny. Whatever. But he said some things about me in that moment where I was like, this girl like doesn't really know who I am. I'm not like that. I'm like a super nice girl. I'm like this, I'm like that, blah, blah, blah. But over time, honestly, like I ended up turning into what, like everything that she said, because I started prioritizing what I wanted and I just started doing all the things that felt natural to me. And somehow I just turned into the version that I am today, where I'm like really proud that I can just like look at things and be like, this is what I want and this is not what I want, and I'm gonna say yes to everything that I want and I'm gonna say no whenever I see something that I don't want. And that's something that's actually really helpful, to be selfish if you are in relationships. And I know people are gonna say like, no, you cannot be selfish if you want to be in a relationship. Let me explain that. It's not that you need to be selfish in the relationship, but you need to be selfish about what you want out of a relationship. Because I know that before I used to always meet guys and always think like, oh, is he gonna like me? Is he not gonna like me? Am I doing enough? Am I enough? Blah, blah, blah. And that's not the way to go into a relationship. The way to go into a relationship is knowing what you want out of the relationship and then seeing if the other person that you're meeting fits that list. And then you're like, okay, this person fits the list, I will continue meeting them. Or maybe like, oh no, this person they're nothing like what I want, so like, next. That's a mistake that I actually made with my current relationship, is that when I started to hang out with him, I had a list of the things that I wanted, and I met with him, and he was literally that. Well, I mean, I told you in the other video where I said like how to manifest your boyfriend. I made that list and I met this person and I was like, this person is exactly what I said on my list, which is amazing. But there are certain things that over time were not on the list, but I knew that I didn't want them, and I still kind of went along with it when I didn't, and that just made the relationship not even just deteriorate, but me becoming like very unhappy, me kind of like not expressing certain things, me just like making myself into like this big of ball of like resentment, and at some point I just exploded, which led to some kind of breakup that we had a few months ago. But I mean, thanks to that breakup, I kind of like exploded and like let everything out, told him everything, and then we fixed things. But it's not nice to let things like pile up like that, and that's something that happens when you people please, like you pile up things. And I still do it to this day. That, as I said, like this happened like maybe 4 months ago, so it's not that I've become a perfect person, because in relationships is where for me it's like the most difficult area of my life to be a selfish person. But now I'm just more aligned with what I want, because after the breakup I remember being like, okay, I need to make another list of like more things that I feel like I need as a person, as a human being, and just like not tolerate anything that's below that, you know. But I feel like in modern dating today, especially for women, it's kind of hard to find guys who are worth it, who are not immature, because most of them are. But yeah, that's a topic for another video. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for any of you who, I guess, yeah, have been people pleasing for too long and just want to start living their own life, because at the end of the day it's this: you want to start living your own life, become selfish, just do that, just do it. So if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe, let me know anything in the comments that you want for future videos, and I'll see you guys next week.